Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, and it's finally time for our Fiendsmith Azamina Snake Eye deck profile. Yesterday we covered the deck's combo guide, so if you're interested in seeing how this deck is played, or at least the combos that I think are the most optimal, then you're going to want to check out that guide. It'll be linked in the description below. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways that you can play out your combos with this deck. I think that's one of the things that makes it not only so complex, but also so powerful. There are a number of things you can do in just about any given situation. This deck is a lot better at going second than pure Snake Eye was in the past, for sure. A lot of that is being able to start your plays with Azamina, Ilya, Sylvia a lot of the time. This card, I think, in particular, is definitely what makes the Azamina archetype stand out so much. Now, of course, there is the other fusion monster, Rakielago, which can search Sinful Spoils cards, and of course that is extremely good. But Ilya Sylvia is an Omni-Negate, and this will give the deck a way to play through a lot of hand traps, including Nibiru. If you open with, like, Deception or Diabellstar or Wanted, just in general, if you open access to, like, your Azamina package, then you can pretty much always guarantee to make Ilya Sylvia before your 5th summon. So that is an extremely valuable addition for the deck. Another way in which this deck is nib-proof, actually, it comes in the form of Wave Hiking Caesar. Let's say you have a hand where you open the Fiendsmith engine, which can go into your Snake Eye package, but let's say you open Engraver and Snake Eye Ash. One thing you could potentially do if you wanted is, before you hit your 5th summon, just use your level 6s to make Wave Hiking Caesar, then go normal summon Snake Eye Ash, and then just combo out, right? If you wanted to get a little bit risky, you could even, because this does play into Nib a little bit, but you could even use the sequence and then your 2 Fiendsmith monsters to, like, make a 3-material Appaloosa, and then normal summon Snake Eye Ash. Like, that's the thing, the one-card lines are good to know for a general feel of what the deck can do, and of course I think it's good to know what you can do under, like, the barest of circumstances, but the thing is that this deck has a lot of starters. To be exact, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 starters for our engine. They're not all necessarily completely one card. The majority of them do require you to have at least one other card, if not another card and a monster in hand in the case of something like Deception. But that's not very difficult to achieve, right? In your opening hand, to ask you to have another card in general, you always will, and to have a monster in general, again, not a very big ask. But with so many starters, a lot of the time you're going to open multiple of them. So again, the one-card line is really good. The one-card lines, rather, are really good to know for a baseline, for sure. But you will also need the experience of playing, of seeing your individual hand, knowing what to start with, what to use as bait, what to follow up with, what's a good extender. Have I used my normal summon yet? That's always a question you should very much be asking, especially in a deck like this. So on and so forth. Because there's a lot of the time where you'll, like, do full combo and then not use your normal summon. So, like, sometimes normal summon a hand trap to use as a link material is completely viable way to continue your plays. For the build itself here, it's pretty standard. I think that this is... I'm trying to think of, like, what other changes I would make, really. To me here, the flex spots are triple tack, for sure. One of the imperms I do consider a flex spot. Nib is actually a flex spot. I think Nib is pretty good still, even though this deck in particular can play around it. There are, of course, still a lot of decks in the format it just gets, but I would say almost everything else in this main deck is stuff that you would need to play for the combo. I've seen some people consider Divine Temple and Snake Eyes Diabellstar optional. They technically are, but having these is so greatly increases the ceiling of what you're capable of. I understand the argument that they're kind of dead draws, but at the same time, just what you can do is so much less impactful without them. And actually, when I was looking around at Snake Eye Azamina combo guides, Dramatic Snake Eye Chase is another card that can actually potentially raise the ceiling of certain combo lines, right? I found one video in particular that was utilizing it, searching it off of Poplar to put Diabellstar in the spell trap zone, and basically get to your Azamina stuff even if you only open Snake Eye stuff. But that I decided not to go for, because while Temple and Diabellstar Snake Eyes definitely raise the ceiling of your combo lines, Dramatic Snake Eye Chase is more for like specific combo lines, right? And I didn't want to play a bricky card. Like, I'm fine to play, you know, a couple of slightly bricky cards if we use them in every single combo line and they raise the ceiling of every single combo line. But Dramatic Snake Eye Chase just makes like very specific hands slightly better. Hands in which you only open exactly like Snake Eye Ash or Snake Eyes Poplar and nothing else. And I didn't think that was worth it. You could play second Fiendsmith's Tract if you wanted to. At that point, the second copy would be an extender, because this card is not a one-card combo by itself until the Crime of the Crimson Tears comes out. At that point, once that card's out, then I think playing multiple copies of this makes a lot more sense. For the time being, I'm only on the one, though. For the extra deck is a little bit tricky to build for a deck like this, and it really is going to depend on what kind of a combo line you're going for as to what dictates what's in your extra deck. I think the most optional card that I'm playing is Raging Phoenix. I use Raging Phoenix as a way to get Promethean Princess off of my field for a lot of the combo lines, but it's certainly not the most powerful card to be part of your end board. But that said, I think it's still fine. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I have to say about the build itself. Let's break it down card by card, and then we will, of course, take a look at some games that I've played with the deck. Alright, so we're on 1 Fabled Lurie, 1 Effect Veiler, 1 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Snake Eye Oak, 1 Snake Eyes Poplar, 2 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Molcharmy Fuelos, 2 Fiendsmith Engraver, 3 Diabellstar the Black Witch, 1 Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, 1 Snake Eyes Diabellstar, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 1-for-1, 1 Triple Tactics Talent, 2 Bonfire, 2 Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, 1 Fiendsmith's Tract, 1 The Hallowed Azamina, 1 Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, 3 Deception of the Sinful Spoils, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Cross-Eyed Designator, 1 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, and finally 3 Infinite Impermanence. And that'll be our main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Fiendsmith's Lacrima, 1 Azamina Ilia Sylvia, 1 Azamina Mua, I always want to say Mua, it's Mu Rakielago, 1 Fiendsmith's Desiree, 1 Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, 1 DDD Wave High King Caesar, 1 Lakribo, 1 Fiendsmith's Requiem, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, 1 Fiendsmith's Sequence, 1 Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames, 1 Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, and finally 1 Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. There is our list. Let's check out some duels now. Okay, our first game is going to be against Tenpai, and this will show you some pretty standard turn 1 setups and then playing them out. Again, though, if you want to see a lot of combos, you're going to want to check out the combo guide linked in the description below there. So, for this hand, we open Deception. Oh, this is also our first time hearing the Sky Striker theme in a video. Hell yeah. Yeah, we open Deception, discard the Lurie. Gonna use that to search Hallowed Azamina, and pretty much just going for the Deception combo line from here straight up. We've got that in addition to a bunch of really, really good hand traps here, so yeah, here rather than go straight for OSS, I like to go for the Wanted off the Rakielago. Gonna pitch the Imperm to summon Diabellstar. Then Diabellstar can set Original Sinful Spoils. I see a lot of combo guides that'll straight up put the Rakielago from the field back into the extra deck to add back the Hallowed Azamina, but I really like linking into IP first, and then putting it back from the graveyard. I feel like that's just a more efficient use of bodies. As opposed to, you know, just putting the card from the field back into the extra deck. Might as well do it from the graveyard, right? There's the Sylvia, and again, that's the 4th summon, so we are good to go through the nib. We can add the Snake Eye Ash with OSS and then normal summon, because we haven't done that yet. Of course, we'll add in special Poplar. Poplar is going to grab the Temple, which will let us then pivot into the Snake Eyes Diabellstar. We can send the Snake Eyes Diabellstar with the Ash to go for Oak. Oak brings back Ash. Then once we link off Poplar into Link Rebo, we're going to use Poplar's effect to just put the Snake Eyes Diabellstar right back into the spell trap zone. I like this theme. It's very Xenoblade. At least a little bit I heard just there. Anyway. Since our field is full, let's go ahead and make some room here. I'm going to link off 2 of my monsters into Moon of the Closed Heaven. Just make sure you're not linking away Snake Eye Oak here, because we still need to use the effect to summon Flamberge. Yeah, so here's the Engraver. We can go Engraver plus Ash to make the sequence. And I could activate Sequence Effect now. Oh, I am activating it now. Okay, yep. Sometimes I do the Oak first, sometimes I do the Sequence first. You can do those 2 steps in either order, really. Sequence for Lacrima to add, not send, but add Engraver. And you'll note that we shuffled back Fabled Lurie, the one that we opened with, so we can still go for the Tract for Lurie here, because for Sequence, again, we just put it back into the deck to Fusion Summon. So now we can special summon the Fabled Lurie, again doing a little bit of deck thinning. Now we'll use Oak Effect, send itself for the Flamberge. And we'll go IP plus Lurie plus Flamberge in order to make a 3-material Appaloosa. Alright, now the Flamberge effect will activate, putting our Ash and Oak back onto the field. We're going to go Oak plus Sequence to make Promethean Princess. And, of course, as she always does, Promethean Princess is going to bring back the Flamberge. And then once Flamberge is back on the field, it's going to activate and place the IP from our graveyard into the spell trap zone. In order to unfirelock us, we're going to link off Prom Princess and Ash into the Raging Phoenix. And finally, we get to activate the Engraver effect in the graveyard to summon itself. And then we can overlay our Engraver and Lacrima to finish off with the Wave High King Caesar. Oh, and of course we also get a draw off Wanted. I like saving that for the end after we've already thinned our deck out. As you can see, that got us yet another hand trap here. And Deception can even set itself. So there you go. Opening with Deception and 1 monster to tribute off it, as well as 1 card to send off the Diabellstar, ends us with this board state right here. Definitely not too shabby. So, draw phase, Flamberge, F to summon IP. Now here my opponent went for Maxi, and I chained with Appaloosa here, and not Ash Blossom. My thought process was that Ash Blossom could potentially negate spell or trap cards that otherwise I might need to use my Omni Negate on. Plus, I wanted to use Appaloosa's negates as early. I generally like using them sooner rather than later, just in case my opponent ends up using a board breaker to try to out the Appaloosa. Although here, my opponent's going to actually chain Droplet. So here, I do kind of wish I would have gone Ash Blossom. I wish I would have chained that here. They Droplet send 3, so I imagine they're going to negate Appaloosa, Wave High King Caesar, and Ilia Sylvia. Which looks pretty bad, but we do still get to summon the IP, so even if it'll give them a draw, we can go into an SP if we really need to. And of course we still have a bunch of really good hand traps, and we still have Promethean Princess in the graveyard as well. So, like, that Droplet looked bad, but in this scenario in particular, it didn't even remove half of our disruption options. Literally not even half of them. Yeah, they normal summon Hydra, we Ash Blossom it, and then they just concede. So, yeah, that's a pretty good example, I think, of what Fiendsmith Azamina Snake Eye can do. Even when left unchecked, we still got hit with the board breaker Droplet, and again, as I just said, that took out like 3 of our, I think, it might have even only been a quarter. We might have even had 12 interactions total. I guess it depends how many negates you count the Appaloosa as, but anyway. Alright, there is our first game. We, of course, have a couple more. Let's see the next one. Alright, this time we're up against a mirror match. Whenever I play a mirror match with this deck, I always look at my opponent's extra deck in particular to figure out, like, what they're doing. This opponent is playing World Sea Dragon Zealantis instead of Wave High King Caesar. I really do want to play Zealantis in this extra deck, but it's very, very tight on room. So I'm going to lead with normal summon Snake Eye Ash here. Opponent's going to chain Ash Blossom. This is one of those hands which you'll see a lot where you open multiple of your starters. So in this case, I figured that Snake Eye Ash would be a really, really good bait for a lot of hand traps, like Valor, Ash Blossom, which it did bait, Imperm. I could check for a lot of those. So my opponent played Maxi at, in my opinion, an extremely inopportune moment. They chained it in response to the activation of Deception of the Sinful Spoils. And I'm really not sure why they did that, because you could definitely just chain it to the Hallowed Azamina and guaranteed to get a draw. Now, they didn't cycle for a draw, and also, on top of that, if I were on, well, if I had triple tag, which I do play, I could use that. If I was on Gamma, which my opponent is actually on, then I could use Gamma here. So, and there are some moments to play Maxi which are particularly inopportune. Shotgunning it is a whole debate, but I think we can all agree that that was like an inopportune activation there. Alright, they're going to Bonfire for Snake Eye Ash, and once they normal summon that, I'm going to chain Imperm, really hoping that this is actually enough to stop them. And miraculously it is. Somehow my opponent did not have a follow-up like Wanted, or Diabell Star, or Deception, or like an Engraver. There's so many cards they could have had there. Alright, I'm going to activate the Hallowed Azamina here, going for Ilia Sylvia, sending one of the OSSs in my hand to the graveyard in order to summon her. And this is the other thing I was alluding to that makes the Azamina engine so good, right? In a situation like this where I have like more ways to get into my plays, I can just use my Azamina cards to make Ilia Sylvia right off the bat, and then that'll protect any other plays I can go into. Now from here, I have OSS in actually both the graveyard and the hand, and I think actually maybe OSS from the graveyard, putting back Ash to grab Poplar would be best here. Although I could just OSS from hand, send the one from hand would definitely be better. Yeah, we OSS from hand, send the Deception, summon Oak for Ash, Ash for Poplar, boom, you're home free. And the reason I'm describing that here is because my opponent actually concedes as soon as we summon Sylvia. They definitely saw the writing on the wall, so to speak. Even if I didn't have the follow-up OSS in my hand, the one in graveyard alone would be enough to start getting plays going, which is kind of completely insane. This deck is really cool. I got one more game I'm going to show you. Let's finish with that one. And our final opponent is on Fiendsmith Pearly. Fiendsmiths with Pearly. I've been focusing a lot of my attention on stuff like Snake Eye and Yubel. A lot of us have, but that definitely isn't to say that the stuff, the Fiendsmith stuff doesn't help other decks too. Alright, they're leading with Engraver. Engraver for Tract. They're then, of course, going to activate the Tract to add, and then discard the Fabled Lurie. So when Fabled Lurie activates, I'm going to first chain Molcharmi Fuelos. And you might be thinking, Hex, why would you chain Fuelos first? You don't even get a draw if Fuelos resolves off the Lurie summon. Because that would be Meowls that gives you draws from Graveyard and Banishment, which isn't even out yet. But the reason is for exactly what's about to happen here. Sorry, I thought my opponent had an Ash Blossom. But I do it to bait Ash Blossom and call by and cross out and stuff. If you have both Fuelos and... Oh, they had Droll, that's what it was. If you have both Fuelos and a Maxi in hand, and you want to use your Maxi, I think it's right pretty much all the time to just activate Fuelos first, and see if they do something like Call By or Ash It or something. Droll is pretty bad for me here. Now, granted, it means they won't be able to add a bunch of cards like Pearly typically wants to do off stuff like My Friend, but they can certainly still make Fiendsmith plays. It looks like that's what they're doing here. They're going to activate Sequence. I'm going to use the Valor here. I definitely don't want them to go into, either Lacrima or Desiree. Both would be unideal here. They can still use the Engraver Graveyard effect, though, and they're certainly going to do so. Then they're using Tract in order to fuse into Lacrima. That's right, I was trying to remember how they ended up with the Wave High King Caesar, using the Tract Graveyard effect to fuse. Then, yep, Lacrima brings back the Engraver, and they can go into the Wave High King Caesar. Alright, so we managed to stop them, but they still have a pretty decent threat for us to try to out here. I'm going to lead with Divine Temple, actually placing the Snake Eyes Diabellstar from hand. Then I'll send the Divine Temple in order to summon Diabellstar, setting Deception of the Sinful Spoils, which will then activate. Using the effect, I'm going to tribute the in-hand Ash Blossom to try to add the Hallowed Azamina. Opponent's going to use their Ash Blossom here. My plan was basically to do what I'm about to do here, summon Snake Eyes Diabellstar. Basically, I wanted this setup, but also to have the Ilia Sylvia for an Omni Negate on the field. I think if I had that Ilia Sylvia, I'd be in a really, really good position, but as it stands now, I'm in kind of a precarious position here, having to pass on Diabellstar and nothing else here. Opponent's going to draw for turn. They get to use the Graveyard Effective Engraver, which will give them a body. And then they're linking off the Engraver to summon Requiem, once again. Normal summon effect failure, excuse me. And then that'll let them go into SP Little Knight. Now they're using Little Knight to actually banish my Deception and not my Diabellstar. I think that was a pretty good play on my opponent's part, because sure, if they banish Diabellstar, then I don't have a monster, but they can't attack anyway, and all it would take is for me to top deck literally any monster to tribute for Deception, and then I'm definitely, like, back in the game at that point, right? So yeah, I think that was a good move on my opponent's part. Top decking a Tract here, I don't think that does a lot for me. Oh wait, no, it does. I just wanted to, battle over the SP first, so that way, of course, SP didn't bounce out one of my cards that I was going to try to combo off with. So now we can access our Fiendsmith stuff. We're going to Tract for Lurie, Lurie F, not Lurie F. Well, yeah, Lurie F to summon, and then we link into Requiem. Alright, we can use Requiem, going for Engraver. Alright, now we're going to link the Engraver with the Diabellstar. It's going to let us summon the Sequence. And we're getting going here. Now we can sequence in order to make Lacrima. Lacrima can bring back Engraver. Now we can go into Beatrice and set up Snake Eye plays if we wanted to. We can make High King Caesar. We have a couple of options here. Or do we? Because our opponent's last card is Nib! Their last card was Nibiru. That's devastating. We do get to burn them, and we do have a big token, but unfortunately our opponent does still have that Engraver in the graveyard, so if nothing else, they can just go for another body right here. Requiem effect to equip, then you can use the Engraver effect, yeah, to just send the 2 cards. And on top of that, they actually top decked My Friend Pearly. It's like, when it was just Nib and Engraver, I'm like, okay, that's 4,800 damage, I live, maybe they link into something slightly scary, but I already took out SP. But no, they just had the My Friend. It was close, but what can you do? Also, just goes to show that, like, even if a lot of this deck's turn 1 combo lines are generally Nib-proof, like, Nib is still good in general, and even does still have uses against this deck. A lot of people tend to really focus on turn 1 lines, but you gotta factor in grind games sometimes as well. Alright, that is going to do it for these games. I really hope you enjoyed those. Definitely look out for more Fiendsmith content. I want to work on Fiendsmith Yubel next. I'd like to get a combo guide up for that, potentially. If the combos aren't like too different than how you would normally play Yubel anyway, I might pass on it, but I really do want to make a Fiendsmith Yubel combo guide, of course, as well as the deck profile. Fiendsmith Azamina White Force is another deck I want to try. Fiendsmith Orcus is another deck I want to try. So definitely stay tuned if you want to see more of that. But thank you so much for watching. Let's move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down on there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.